The quantum entanglement. The sterile white corridors of the Europa research station hummed with an electric anticipation. Dr. Zara Novak's fingers danced across holographic displays, her emerald eyes reflecting the intricate quantum patterns that pulsed before her. Outside the reinforced windows, Jupiter's massive form loomed, casting an ethereal glow across the icy moon's surface. System diagnostic complete, the station's AI announced in a neutral tone. Quantum resonance chamber at 99.8% operational capacity. Zara brushed a strand of midnight black hair from her face, her concentration unwavering. She was different from most researchers. Where others saw complex mathematical equations, she saw poetry, a language of the universe waiting to be understood. The quantum resonance chamber was her life's work. A device designed to probe the deepest mysteries of quantum communication, it was humanity's most advanced attempt to reach beyond traditional communication barriers. Most of her colleagues considered it a moonshot, a scientific fantasy. But Zara knew differently. Her latest calibration sequence was unlike anything she had attempted before. By manipulating quantum entanglement at unprecedented scales, she hoped to create a communication channel that transcended traditional electromagnetic limitations. Initiating quantum pulse sequence, she muttered, her fingers hovering over the activation trigger. The chamber began to vibrate, its crystalline structures resonating with carefully modulated quantum frequencies. Harmonic waves of pure energy started to ripple through the device, creating intricate patterns that seemed to dance between reality and possibility. Suddenly, something unexpected happened. A signal. Faint, but unmistakable. Not random noise, but a structured pattern that defied conventional explanation. Dr. Novak, the station's AI interrupted, detecting anomalous quantum signature. Source. Unknown. Her heart raced. This was no ordinary interference. The signal carried a complexity that suggested, no, demanded, intelligent design. The quantum patterns began to shift, forming geometric shapes that seemed to pulse with an inner logic. They were communicating, but not through any language humans had ever encountered. Begin recording, Zara commanded, her voice steady despite the monumental implications of what was unfolding. The signal grew stronger, more intricate. It wasn't just a message, it was an invitation to something beyond human comprehension. Little did Zara know, this moment would mark the beginning of humanity's most extraordinary journey. The quantum entanglement was more than a scientific experiment. It was the first step towards a transformation that would redefine the very concept of intelligence and communication. As the alien signal continued to pulse through the quantum resonance chamber, Dr. Zara Novak stood at the threshold of a discovery that would change everything. The interstellar communication hub orbiting Neptune was a marvel of human engineering. A massive rotating structure that looked like a metallic flower suspended against the inky blackness of space. At its heart sat Cag Rodriguez, a communication specialist whose reputation for solving impossible signal mysteries had earned him the nickname the Signal Whisperer. Cag's workspace was a controlled chaos of holographic displays, quantum signal analyzers, and custom-built communication processors. His dark brown skin was illuminated by the soft blue glow of multiple screens, each displaying fragments of the mysterious quantum signal that Dr. Zara Novak had first detected on Europa. Run another cross-reference, he muttered to ARIA, the station's advanced artificial intelligence system. Unlike traditional AIs, ARIA was a quantum adaptive intelligence capable of processing complex patterns that would overwhelm conventional systems. Cross-referencing in progress, ARIA responded, her voice a melodic blend of algorithms and human-like intuition. Preliminary analysis suggests the signal contains multiple dimensional encoding layers. Kai leaned back in his ergonomic chair, running a hand through his closely cropped black hair. The signal was unlike anything he'd encountered in his 15-year career of deep space communications. It wasn't just a message. It was a complex, living communication that seemed to breathe and evolve with each analysis. The communication hub buzzed with subdued activity. Dozens of specialists from various international space agencies worked tirelessly, each trying to make sense of the quantum anomaly. But Kai knew something they didn't. This was more than just a random signal. It was an intentional communication, carefully crafted to be just beyond human comprehension. A notification flashed on his primary display. An incoming transmission from the Europa Research Station, directly from Dr. Zora Novak. The multinational space research facility in Geneva was a testament to human collaboration. A massive circular structure that seemed to blend seamlessly with the Swiss landscape, it housed the most brilliant minds from every corner of the globe. At its center, Commander Elena Petrova stood before a massive holographic display, her steely blue eyes tracking the quantum signal's complex patterns. "Confirm the analysis," she commanded, her Russian accent crisp and authoritative. Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka, a quantum physicist from Japan, adjusted his glasses. "The signal is consistent. It's definitely not random noise or a natural phenomenon. Someone, or something, is deliberately trying to communicate." The room was a hub of controlled tension. Representatives from NASA, ESA, CNSA, and other international space agencies watched intently. Years of competitive space exploration had been replaced by a unified sense of purpose. This was bigger than any single nation's ambitions. "Break it down for me," Elena demanded, her military background showing in her direct approach. Dr. Tanaka brought up a series of complex geometric patterns. "The signal contains multiple layers of information. It's like, imagine a language that exists before words, a communication that happens at the quantum level of existence." A younger researcher, Dr. Emeka Okonkwo from Nigeria, leaned forward. "It's almost as if the communication is alive. Each time we attempt to decode it, it adapts. It's learning from our attempts to understand it." Elena's mind raced. She had spent decades in space exploration, from her early days as a cosmonaut to her current role coordinating international space research. But this was different. This was beyond exploration. This was first contact. Suddenly, the holographic display erupted with a burst of energy. Intricate patterns of light danced across the room, creating three-dimensional representations that seemed to breathe and pulse with an inner life. "Everyone, stay calm," Elena commanded, though her own heart was racing. Dr. Tanaka's fingers flew across his quantum interface. "It's responding to our observation. The more we analyze, the more it reveals. But it's not revealing information, it's creating a dialogue." The patterns began to form recognizable shapes, not of any known language, but of something more fundamental. They were mathematical representations, geometric progressions that seemed to tell a story of connection, of bridging impossible distances. "It's an invitation," Dr. Okonkwo whispered. "Not just a message, but a method of communication." For 3 hours, the team watched in awe as the quantum signal continued its dance. It wasn't just sending information. It was teaching them a new way of understanding communication itself. Elena contacted Kai Rodriguez and Dr. Zora Novak simultaneously. "We need to bring together every expert we have. This is beyond a scientific discovery. This is a fundamental shift in human understanding." As the day progressed, the quantum signal continued its mesmerizing display. It became clear that this was more than just a message from an alien intelligence. It was a bridge, a connection that transcended traditional boundaries of language, technology, and understanding. Dr. Tanaka made a breakthrough observation. "Look at the pattern. It's not just communicating, it's learning. Every time we interact, it's adapting, growing more complex." Elena understood the profound implications. We're not just receiving a message. We're engaging in a dialogue with an intelligence that operates on a completely different level of existence. The final report of the day was both exciting and terrifying. The quantum signal was evolving, and humanity was being invited to evolve with it. As night fell over the research facility, the holographic displays continued to pulse with life. Something was reaching out from the depths of the universe, and humanity was about to take its first steps into a completely new understanding of communication and intelligence. Dr. Okonkwo summed it up best. This isn't just first contact. This is first understanding. The research laboratory in Mumbai buzzed with an electric energy that transcended typical scientific excitement. Dr. Rohan Gupta stood at the center of a massive quantum computing array, his lean frame vibrating with anticipation. Outside the lab's panoramic windows, the bustling city of Mumbai continued its daily rhythm, completely unaware of the potential world-changing discovery unfolding within these walls. Quantum synchronization at 73%, announced the lab's AI system, its holographic interface flickering with complex mathematical equations. Dimensional resonance approaching critical threshold. Rohan's team was unlike any other scientific group. Comprised of the world's most innovative quantum theorists, linguists, and computational experts, they had been working around the clock to develop a communication protocol that could interface with the mysterious quantum signal. "We're not just trying to understand the message," Rohan explained to his lead researcher, Dr. Priya Sharma. "We're attempting to create a language that exists beyond human comprehension." The quantum computing array was a marvel of human engineering, a massive spherical structure that seemed to bend light and space around it. Intricate quantum processors hummed with a soft, almost musical resonance. Each processor was designed to adapt, to learn, to evolve in real time. "The signal is responding to our attempts," Priya noted, her fingers dancing across a holographic interface. "It's not just receiving, it's actively participating in our communication attempts." Suddenly, the room transformed. The quantum processors began to pulse with a rhythm that seemed to synchronize with something beyond the physical space of the laboratory. Geometric patterns of light began to form complex three-dimensional structures, moving and shifting in ways that defied traditional understanding of physics. "Quantum bridge forming," the AI announced. "Dimensional coherence at 86%. Rohan held his breath. This was the moment they had been working towards, a potential breakthrough in interdimensional communication. The patterns of light began to form what could only be described as a living language, a communication method that existed somewhere between mathematics, art, and pure consciousness. "It's teaching us," Rohan whispered, "not just sending a message, but showing us how to understand a completely different form of intelligence." Dr. Sharma gasped as the quantum processors began to extract and translate the signal's core components. The communication isn't linear, it's multidimensional. Each piece of information exists in multiple states simultaneously. The laboratory's walls seemed to become transparent, revealing layers of reality that had previously been invisible. The quantum signal was more than a message. It was a doorway to understanding the universe in a fundamentally new way. Hours passed like moments. The team worked tirelessly, capturing every nuance of the quantum communication. They were no longer just scientists. They were pioneers of a new form of understanding. "We're creating a Rosetta Stone," Rohan explained during a brief communication with Commander Elena Petrova and Kai Rodriguez. "But instead of translating between human languages, we're translating between different forms of intelligence." As the day drew to a close, the quantum array had produced something unprecedented, a partial translation of the alien communication. It wasn't words or images, but a complex mathematical and geometric representation of connection, of understanding, of something that transcended human language. "The signal is an invitation," Priya concluded, her voice filled with a mixture of excitement and reverence. "An invitation to expand our understanding of communication, of intelligence, of existence itself." Rohan looked at the final output, a breathtaking display of quantum interactions that seemed to pulse with life. "We're not just receiving a message," he said softly. "We're being asked to evolve." Outside the laboratory, Mumbai continued its endless dance of life, completely unaware that humanity was on the brink of its most significant discovery, a communication that could change everything. The orbital research station hung like a delicate crystal against the vast blackness of space, Lieutenant Marcus Wright stood at the primary observation deck, his muscular frame tense with anticipation. Years of military training had prepared him for countless scenarios, but nothing could have prepared him for this moment. Final preparations for first potential physical contact are complete, reported Dr. Valentina Kozlov, the station's chief scientific officer. Her holographic interface displayed a complex array of quantum adaptive defense and communication systems. Marcus understood the gravity of their mission. This wasn't just a military operation. It was humanity's first structured approach to potential interdimensional contact. The Convergence Protocol represented years of collaborative research, bringing together the most advanced scientific and military minds from around the globe. Quantum stabilization field at maximum, announced the station's eye. Dimensional interface protocols activated. The station itself was a marvel of human engineering, a rotating structure that could adapt its internal environment instantaneously. Constructed from adaptive materials that could shift their molecular structure, it represented the pinnacle of human technological achievement. Dr. Kozlov approached Marcus, her pale blue eyes intense with focus. The quantum signal is showing increased complexity. It's not just attempting communication anymore. It's preparing for something more. Marcus watched as the station's primary observation window began to shimmer. It wasn't a visual distortion. Something was happening at a fundamental level of reality. The space around them seemed to bend, to breathe, to exist in multiple states simultaneously. Incoming quantum cascade, the AI warned. Dimensional integrity at critical threshold. The room filled with a soft, pulsing light that seemed to exist beyond the traditional spectrum. Geometric patterns formed and dissolved, creating complex three-dimensional representations that defied human understanding. It was beautiful, terrifying, and absolutely incomprehensible. "We're not just observing," Marcus muttered. "We're being invited." Dr. Kozlov's hands flew across her quantum interface. The signal is creating a communication matrix. It's adapting itself to our understanding. Each time we attempt to comprehend it, it reconfigures. Suddenly, a breakthrough. The quantum patterns began to form a representation that was almost, but not quite, recognizable. It was like watching a language being born in real time, a communication method that existed between mathematics, consciousness, and pure possibility. "Dimensional breach detected," the AI announced. But it's not an invasion. It's an introduction. Marcus felt something he'd never experienced before, a sense of connection that transcended physical boundaries. The quantum signal wasn't just communicating, it was establishing a bridge between different forms of intelligence. "We're being asked to expand our understanding," Dr. Kozlov whispered, "not just of communication, but of existence itself." The station's systems began to integrate with the quantum signal. Adaptive technologies responded, creating interfaces that could barely contain the complexity of the incoming communication. It was like watching a new form of life emerge, not biological, but something far more fundamental. "Convergence protocol advancing," the AI reported. "Dimensional synchronization at 94%. Marcus watched in awe as the quantum patterns began to form what could only be described as a living blueprint. It wasn't just information. It was an invitation to reimagine the very nature of intelligence, of connection, of understanding. "We're not alone," he said softly. "And we're not just receiving a message. We're being asked to participate in something beyond our current comprehension." As the orbital research station continued its delicate dance with the quantum signal, humanity stood on the precipice of its most significant moment. This was more than first contact. This was a fundamental reimagining of what it meant to communicate, to understand, to exist. Dr. Lina Zhao stood at the heart of the Advanced Communication Center, her fingers dancing across a holographic interface that seemed to breathe with living energy. The center, nestled in a remote mountain facility in New Zealand, was humanity's most advanced attempt to understand the quantum communication that had captivated the world's scientific community. Dimensional resonance increasing, the facility's quantum AI announced. Its voice was different now, no longer a mechanical monotone, but something more nuanced, more alive. Lena was a xenolinguist unlike any other. Her entire career had been dedicated to understanding communication beyond traditional language barriers. But this was beyond anything she could have imagined. The Communication Center's walls were unlike any traditional research space. Constructed from adaptive quantum-responsive materials, they seemed to shimmer and shift, reflecting the complex patterns of the alien signal. Holographic displays danced with geometric shapes that defied traditional understanding of mathematics and communication. "We're not just decoding a message," Lena muttered to her colleague, Dr. Rafael Martinez. "We're witnessing the birth of a completely new form of communication." Rafael nodded, his eyes never leaving the quantum displays. "Look at the pattern. It's alive. Each time we interact, it learns, adapts, evolves." The quantum signal had become something more than a simple message. It was a living, breathing form of communication that existed beyond traditional dimensional boundaries. Where human communication was linear, this was multidimensional, existing in multiple states simultaneously. Suddenly, the facility's primary quantum interface erupted with a burst of energy. Patterns of light and mathematical precision filled the room, creating a three-dimensional representation that was both beautiful and terrifying. "Dimensional crossroads detected," the AI announced. "Communication matrix expanding beyond current understanding." Lena watched in awe as the patterns began to form something recognizable, but not in any traditional sense. It was like watching a language being born, a method of communication that existed between thought, mathematics, and pure consciousness. "It's showing us something," she whispered. "Not just telling us a message, but revealing the very nature of communication itself." The quantum patterns began to reveal glimpses of something extraordinary, fragments of understanding that suggested a form of intelligence that existed beyond human comprehension. It wasn't just about sending information. It was about creating a fundamental connection between different forms of existence. Dr. Martinez leaned closer to the display. "These aren't just patterns. They're a method of understanding that transcends our current limitations. We're being invited to expand our consciousness." Hours passed like moments. The facility became a nexus of extraordinary discovery. Scientists from around the world watched in real time as humanity stood on the precipice of its most significant breakthrough. "We're not just receiving a message," Lena explained during a global communication briefing. "We're being asked to reimagine what it means to communicate, to understand, to exist." As the day drew to a close, the quantum signal continued its mesmerizing dance. It was clear now that this was more than just first contact. This was an invitation to a completely new way of understanding the universe. The AI made a final, profound observation. Communication is no longer about sending and receiving. It's about becoming. Outside the facility, the New Zealand mountains stood silent, witnesses to a moment that would change humanity forever. The experimental quantum communication facility in Kyoto was unlike any research center humanity had ever constructed. Its sleek, organic design seemed to pulse with an energy that defied traditional architectural principles. At its heart stood Area Nakamura, a quantum engineer whose work had pushed the boundaries of human understanding. Quantum coherence reaching critical levels, the facility's advanced AI system announced. Its voice had become something more, not quite human, not quite machine, but something entirely new. Area's workspace was a marvel of technological integration. Holographic displays danced with quantum algorithms that seemed to breathe and evolve. Years of research had led to this moment, a potential breakthrough that could redefine humanity's understanding of communication, intelligence, and existence. "We're not just observing the quantum signal," Area explained to her team. "We're becoming part of its communication matrix." The facility's primary quantum chamber began to activate. Unlike previous attempts, this was a deliberate, carefully orchestrated effort to establish a two-way communication with the mysterious quantum intelligence that had been reaching out to humanity. Dr. Keiko Sato, Area's lead researcher, adjusted a series of quantum adaptive interfaces. "The signal is responding differently this time. It's not just sending information, it's creating a dialogue. The room began to transform. Walls became transparent, revealing layers of reality that had previously been invisible. Geometric patterns of light and mathematical precision filled the space, creating a three-dimensional representation of communication that transcended human understanding. Dimensional bridge forming, the AI announced. Quantum resonance at unprecedented levels. Area watched in awe as the quantum patterns began to reveal something extraordinary. It wasn't just a message or a method of communication. It was a fundamental reimagining of how intelligence could exist and interact. "We're being asked to evolve," she whispered, her fingers dancing across quantum interfaces that seemed to respond to her very thoughts. The facility's quantum chamber reached full activation. What happened next was beyond anything the scientific community could have anticipated. The quantum signal began to create a living representation of communication, a method of understanding that existed between mathematics, consciousness, and pure possibility. The Global Convergence Center in Geneva transformed from a research facility into a beacon of hope. Representatives from every corner of the world gathered, united by an experience that transcended national boundaries, cultural differences, and traditional human limitations. Dr. Zora Novak stood at the central platform, her presentation revealing the culmination of humanity's journey with the quantum intelligence. Beside her were the key figures who had been instrumental in this extraordinary discovery: Kai Rodriguez, Commander Elena Petrova, Dr. Rohan Gupta, Lieutenant Marcus Wright, Dr. Lina Zhao, and Arya Nakamura. "What we've discovered," Zara began, her voice carrying across the hushed auditorium, "is not just a method of communication. It's a fundamental reimagining of intelligence itself." The holographic displays behind her came alive with the quantum signal's most remarkable revelation. It wasn't a message of conquest or scientific data. It was an invitation, a cosmic dialogue that demonstrated the universe's interconnectedness. Kai Rodriguez stepped forward, explaining the technical breakthrough. The quantum intelligence isn't an alien species in the traditional sense. It's a form of communication that exists between dimensions, between states of being. We're not just receiving information, we're being asked to participate in a universal dialogue. The audience watched in awe as the quantum patterns demonstrated humanity's potential. Each interaction had shown not just the human capacity for understanding, but the incredible adaptability of human consciousness. Commander Elena Petrova addressed the global audience. "This is more than a scientific discovery. This is humanity's greatest moment of potential. We're being invited to expand our understanding of existence itself." Dr. Rohan Gupta revealed the most profound implication. The quantum communication had shown that intelligence was not limited to biological forms or traditional understanding. It was a dynamic, evolving concept that transcended known boundaries. "We've discovered," he explained, "that communication is not about sending and receiving. It's about connection, about becoming." The quantum signal had revealed something extraordinary about humanity. Not its technological achievements or scientific prowess, but its fundamental capacity for adaptation, for understanding, for growth. Arya Nakamura shared the final revelation. "The universe is alive with communication. We're not just observers. We're participants in a cosmic dialogue that extends beyond our current comprehension." As the presentation concluded, the holographic displays showed a living representation of human and quantum intelligence intertwining. It was beautiful, complex, and filled with infinite potential. Lieutenant Marcus Wright made the final statement. "This is not an ending. This is a beginning." Outside the Global Convergence Center, people from around the world watched the broadcast. The quantum signal had done more than communicate. It had united humanity in a way nothing ever had before. The message was clear. The universe was alive, and humanity had just been invited to join its conversation. As night fell, the quantum signals continued their mesmerizing dance, a reminder that the greatest discoveries are not about finding answers, but about asking more profound questions. Humanity's journey had only just begun.